Okay, and we are live on Tech Talks with a full house today because I guess everybody wants to know about gifs and memes, which is great. Before we went live, Ben was saying he figured we were either going to get 0 people or 10 people for this session, so that's good.
Anything to distract us from our daily work, I think, is important, Caleb.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. God forbid we should have any instructionally relevant content in this session. So I'm going to try to avoid any of that. We're just going to stick with the funny stuff.
Good.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen here because we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about how to find and use existing animated GIFs out there in the interwebs. We're going to talk about how you can make your own animated GIFs for various reasons. And then if we still have time, we'll talk about memes more generally. And I don't know, if people really like this, maybe we'll do more fun stuff like this in a future one, make a part 2. So I'm going to share my desktop here, make sure I got the right one. Share that. Okay, can everybody see my web browser now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. All right, so to start with, just the basic foundational stuff here. What is a GIF? A GIF is an animated image, and really the easiest way to think about it is it's just like a flip book where you have a different image on each page and it just flips back and forth. It's a very simple animation with usually just a few frames of the animation. And then the GIF file tells your web browser or your computer to play each image in sequence. It's pretty basic, pretty simple. The nice thing though is Canvas has a lot of support for GIFs. So if you wanted to include some GIFs here and there, and we'll talk about when you might not want to do that, but if you want to do that, it'll add a little bit of animation, a little bit of movement and attention grabbing detail in your courses. So to start off with, let's just go and grab a GIF off of the internet, and then I'll show you what you can do with it in Canvas. The first tricky part about this is if you were to just open up your web browser and search for GIFs, you'll find a bunch of websites that call themselves GIF repositories. And they'll have, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of animations on there. The problem is most of them don't actually use GIF files anymore. That's a little bit of a kind of an older file format. So a lot of these sites, they use little embedded videos, which is not what we want for Canvas because we can't embed those videos, those little animation files in the same way that we can embed a GIF. But there is at least one good GIF repository site still out there that still uses actual GIF files. And that's this one right here, Tenor.com. So again, there's many sites like this one, but most of them don't actually use GIF files anymore. So this is one that I would recommend to start with if you are looking for some fun animations to include in your class. And I should say off the top here that we do not endorse any paid products or services on this channel because we're not supposed to do that. So I'm just telling you some of the sites that are out there right now. I'm not vouching for them specifically or their business models or anything like that. Figured I better throw that out here. So we're on this Tenor site and I want to grab a GIF and I want to put it into my Canvas course. And I want to do the Kermit typing GIF. That's a good one. So this again shows us lots and lots of different versions of this. Some of them are different shades. Some of them have pictures on or text on it. So let's just grab one here. So to get this GIF, what I need to do is I need to right click on it so that I can open up my little menu here. Can you see that menu on my okay. Sometimes those things don't show up in share screen. We're going to save this image as, and I'm going to put it on my desktop. One little quirk of this Tenor site is it'll always save the files just as tenor.gif, which is not very helpful because if you're trying to grab a bunch of these, then suddenly you're going to have 10 tenor.gif files on your computer and you won't know what's what. So you should take a second and rename it. Kermit format GIF image, and we're going to save that. So now we've got the GIF file on my computer. If I go back into Canvas, and let's just throw it onto a page here. This part's pretty simple. You probably know how to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway just to show that it's just like inserting a normal image, but it'll be automatically animated. So let's upload the Kermit GIF. And then we need to put some alt text on it for accessibility reasons. Upload that and save it. And now we've got this nice animated animation of Kermit furiously typing on his typewriter. So one little caveat I want to throw out here when it comes to this stuff, these GIF files can get kind of large in terms of file size, because again, each frame of that animation is basically a separate image all by itself. So if you've got a decent sized GIF that has 10 frames to it, it's the same amount of information and file size as 10 separate images. So I would not recommend overloading your courses with too many GIFs, just because we know that a lot of our students, they get onto Canvas using their smartphones. And sometimes if they don't have Wi-Fi at home, they have to use their data plan, and it'll suck up their data faster than a course that doesn't have a whole bunch of imagery or a whole bunch of videos. So it's not a huge problem. These aren't ridiculously large files. They're not as big as like a full motion video with audio and everything. Just something to kind of keep in mind is you don't necessarily want to overdo it and have 5 or 10 or 20 GIFs on a single page.
Hey, Caleb,
Yeah,
can I ask
yes.
a question?
Absolutely.
So this, it's so interesting to me to think about these as image files rather than as like a video file, right? And I'm wondering, is there some other file extension we could use that would make it a little bit smaller, you know, like the corollary to like a compressed zip file or something?
So, I mean, the closest thing to that would be an MP4 video file, which does have compression built into it. And that file format is made for full motion video and audio and all those things. Which again, the more frames of your animation or video, the bigger the file is. The more audio there is, the bigger the file is. There are other formats out there, but they're not supported by Canvas. So, so if we want to just throw a little animation that automatically plays as soon as the page is loaded, we have to use GIFs for that.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah. Something else that you can do with GIFs in Canvas is you can actually set a GIF image as your course tile on the dashboard. So when students log into Canvas and they're on their dashboard, they'll actually see the animation playing here for your course. And it's, again, it's easy to do that. You just go to your course settings, the image, you choose an image, upload an image, and you use an animated GIF rather than just a JPEG. So again, that's just a fun little thing you can do to kind of catch your students' attention. Any questions about this part so far? It's fairly straightforward, but I think a lot of people just didn't realize they can do that. Feeling good so far? All right. Oh, yes, thank you, Ben. And also there's some controversy on how you pronounce it. Some people say GIF and some people say GIF, and I can never remember which one is like the official one, but in my head it sounds like GIF, so that's what I say. Okay, so that's for finding existing animations out there. Again, usually kind of meme ones, something that's from popular culture, just to be funny. But you can also make your own GIFs if you wanted to, either just for fun or potentially containing some kind of educational information. If you have a diagram of something, of an electrical circuit or a molecule or something like that, and you wanted to make it into an animation, you could do that. Again, there's many websites out there that can do things like this, but a nice user-friendly one is easygif.com. If you go to easygif.com, it has a bunch of different things you can do on here. You can crop or rotate or reverse an existing GIF file, so you can even play around with it in that way. You can resize it, make it bigger, make it smaller, but you can also either make a GIF out of a series of images. So if you have 5 or 10 images in a sequence, you could upload all those images here and make it into a single animated GIF file. Same with video to GIF. If you have a short video clip, you could turn that into a GIF. And again, if you are wanting to go this route, you are going to want to be conscious of file size, because if we're talking about 100 frame animation, that can become a fairly large file pretty quickly. And if it is something that large and complex, you might be better off using a video service like Panopto or YouTube or something like that, because then it has the buffering and all those things where the student doesn't have to load the entire video to start watching it. It'll buffer as they go along. But those are some tools that are available. So EasyGif is a good one for that. Another thing that you can do is you can use your webcam to make a little animated GIF. And a nice site for that is this one called gifpal.com. And I'm not going to do it right now because I would have to, I don't even know if that'll work on Zoom because it's going to take over my webcam. But if I did this, and it's pretty self-explanatory, it'll turn on my webcam and it will take a little video clip of whatever's on my webcam. So, me, and then it will let me resize it, trim it to the length that I want, and then it'll turn it into a GIF that I can then download and do whatever I want with. Just as an example of what this looks like, on the e-learning newsletters, we use GIFPal to make little animations of me and Ben, and we put it in the e-learning contact page. Just because I thought, let's try to make this a little bit fun. Instead of just having pictures or just having text of our contact information, why don't we throw a little picture on here? There's like a 2-second clip. There's maybe 5 or 6 frames to it. So these image files are not very big, but then we throw them in here and we can do whatever we want with them. So, you probably already put a little profile picture of yourself on your course homepage so that your students can see you. Well, think about maybe doing a GIF instead so you can wave at them, give them a thumbs up, make a funny face or whatever. Just a fun thing that you can do. Any questions about building your own GIFs?
Janelle just asked if we could add some of these resources to the Canvas page for the announcement of the event. I thought that was a pretty good suggestion. So
yeah, absolutely. We can do that. Make a note for that. So that's kind of all I wanted to cover for GIFs. I just wanted to touch on this a little bit. There are many websites and many tools out there for either finding existing animations or making your own. There are other sites where you can turn text into animated GIFs. So it'll be wavy or flashy or sparkly or whatever. And there's a lot, hundreds of websites that do things like this that you can find with just a little bit of searching. So a couple other limitations that we want to think about when it comes to GIFs. One is I would be careful about GIFs that have super fast or flashing animations, because that can affect people that are epileptic or people that are prone to seizures or prone to migraines or seizures. So it can become an accessibility issue if you're not kind of careful with these things. I've been on the internet since the late 90s because I'm a nerd. And back in the day, you saw websites with animated GIFs everywhere, just flashing sparkles and alert signs and all kinds of obnoxious things. And some of those things can give me a migraine. And I'm not even particularly prone to that. It's not like a major disability that I have. For some people, it's much worse. It's much more serious. So that's one thing to be aware of is don't make something that's crazy flashy and fast animation. Another one is file size. Again, we mentioned that earlier. A third one is just accessibility. Because these are just little animation files, you're limited on the kinds of accessibility that you can connect to them. You can put alt text just like a normal image. So, for these ones, you can just put Ben waving, Caleb giving a thumbs up, Kermit typing furiously on his typewriter. But if you are doing an animation that might have some instructional content, then you need to think about other ways that you can provide that content for students that may have vision disabilities. Because if they are using a screen reader, then obviously they won't be able to see that animated GIF. So either just use them for fun, or if they are instructionally relevant, make sure that you're providing some kind of alternative format for that information. Make sense? Okay. Anything else that we want to talk about when it comes to GIFs? Any questions, any ideas that are coming to your mind of what you could maybe use this technique for? That's okay. Just think about it, because it's a lot of fun. It's just a nice, simple way of adding a little bit of movement and attention grabbing detail to a course. It's easy to do this, and why not? It's fun. So we still have a little bit of time here. So let's briefly talk about memes more generally. I don't know if everybody knows what a meme is, like officially the definition, but it's when we talk about internet memes, we're talking about little pieces of media that have some kind of cultural significance attached to them. So a lot of times they are, sometimes they're images grabbed from popular culture, so from a music video or a movie or a cartoon or something. Sometimes they're just pictures of famous people that are recontextualized in some way that is funny or has some additional meaning to them. Some of them are just random pictures that somebody grabbed a long time ago as a joke. And now that joke has become its own self-perpetuating meme, so that there's kind of built-in meaning to that image just because of the way it's been used. So I'm trying to think of a good classic meme example. One of like a little kid with his thumbs up. That's like the success kid meme. And that one's been popular for Bernie Sanders mittens. Thank you, Janelle. That's perfect. That's a perfect one, actually. That's because that's more recent. Bernie sitting there on a lawn chair with his mittens, his bemittened hands crossed in front of him, looking very unimpressed. What was that at the presidential inauguration, I think? So that's a good one. Of the context of it is Bernie Sanders, a famously curmudgeonly politician, does not seem very impressed with what's going on around him. So that's been recontextualized in all kinds of ways, where they cut Bernie out in Photoshop and plop him into different environments. Or I've seen some people have him as your background image on Zoom, which is very funny. So that's kind of what a meme is in a nutshell. And a lot of younger people, millennials, well, we're not that young anymore. Millennials, Gen Z students, they're used to communicating using memes. They do it with their peer groups in instant messaging and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook Message or whatever system they use. And they'll send those back and forth to each other. It's conveying information without actually saying anything. They understand the context of it. And that's kind of a funny way to have a little in-joke with your friends or with a larger internet community. Should teachers use memes in that way? I would say yes, absolutely, because it can be a lot of fun. It can be pretty funny. Students often respond well to that. I've also seen some instructors, and I think somebody mentioned this earlier, who was having their students, I think it was Ben, say that a teacher was, as an assignment, as an activity, having their students share memes with each other, probably in a discussion board or something like that. And that can be a fun activity, both because it's just fun and it's engaging, but you can also use it for an instructional purpose. You know, you can say, based on the topic we've been covering this week, I want you to share a meme that connects with this concept in some way. And you might be surprised at what your students come up with. Now, the challenge of memes is that these images and these formats spread and mutate so quickly that your younger students are probably going to share memes that are completely meaningless to you. You will have no idea what the context is because you haven't been on TikTok in the last 3 days, so you already missed it. On the flip side of that, if you share a lolcat image from the early 2000s, they may not know what that means. Or they'll be like, oh yeah, I saw that on my grandma's computer. So it's kind of, it can be sometimes challenging to stay current with what is considered funny. But I think that's okay. I think that a lot of times students will be like, oh, you know, they mean well. It's an older meme, but it's still funny. So I'll give it a pass. So again, there's many websites where you can just find memes, but you can also kind of build your own. And again, there's many websites that do this, but one that is pretty user-friendly is imgflip.com, and they have a meme generator. They've also got a GIF maker. I haven't really played with that, but they've got a few different things, and one of them is a meme maker. So if you go on here, they'll give you a bunch of templates. There's a Bernie one. That one's a famous one. Distracted boyfriend, all kinds of them. Or you can also upload your own picture and then use it for a meme template. So you pick a picture or you upload a picture and then you add your text. I'm once again asking, so that's number 2. Something like that. And then you generate the meme. And then you can save that image onto your desktop. Again, this one looks like it just gives it kind of a random string of characters, so you might want to name it something that actually has meaning. And there, I just made a meme. I could throw that on my class, put it on my front page, telling my students to read the syllabus, and done. You just made a meme. So that's a super easy way to do that. Again, I think it's just kind of a fun way to interact with your students, to try to catch their attention for a second. And that's kind of all I have to say about that for now, at least. If we have any questions or ideas and we want to keep talking about it, then by all means, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see everybody's faces. Let's see here.
I had a question, Caleb.
Yes.
So I am thinking about doing like a meme assignment for my college success class, since I make them do lots and lots of reflections, but I just thought something small, pithy in the language that especially other younger students, and it's a big range of people who are there, might just something maybe a little bit more creative. Tell me about copyright issues with images. If it's on Canvas and it's not being shared, I'm not super concerned, but I would love to give them an education in looking for, possibilities. I don't know.
That's a great question. That's an excellent question, Angela. And we could probably do a whole session just on copyright and fair use. The short answer is, I think there actually have been some legal cases around memes and copyright. And I'm not an expert. I'm not a lawyer. Don't quote me on this. But my understanding is that when you are adding text in a way that turns the image into a joke, then that counts as transformational fair use or as parody, which is protected. You are allowed to do that. You're allowed to create images like that and share them, especially if it's in Canvas and it's password protected and it's not available to the whole wide public. You have additional protections for educational fair use. But yeah, my general understanding is that you can create and use memes in a free expression transformative, fair use way? It's a great question, though, and it's not one that I feel entirely qualified to answer, but that's kind of my understanding based on what I've read. Any other thoughts? Any bolts of inspiration striking you on how you might want to use some of these tools?
Caleb, can these be added to assignment comments? Like if you wanted to congratulate a student on doing a really good job on the assignment or something like that?
Ben is shaking his head no. Ben, can you not add images to?
I think it's just plain text and assignment feedback. You can upload, I think, and you can attach one, I believe.
Okay.
Sure. Although then I don't think it'll autoplay. So in Canvas, anywhere where you have access to the rich content editor, where you can do things like bold and underline and italic and add links and add pictures, you can add a GIF. But there are a few tools in Canvas where it's just plain text. And yeah, I think grading is one of them. The built-in, the messaging system is plain text only, which is super weird. But yeah, you can't add GIFs there. Content, yes. Assignment instructions, yes. Discussion boards, yes. Anywhere that you have the whole content editor toolbar, you could do this.
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, we are coming up against our time, but we still got a few minutes if anybody has any other questions, comments, ideas.
I just want to say this is so much fun, and I see myself going down a huge rabbit hole. So thanks, guys.
Awesome. Well, if you go down that rabbit hole, take us with you.
Okay.
Show me what you do, because I'm definitely want to see what other people are doing.
Hey, this would be like completely distracting, but do you know if we can add GIFs as like our profile picture here on Zoom?
On Zoom, I don't think you can. That's a great question. I've never seen anybody with an animated profile picture. So, I mean, you could try it, but probably what'll happen is it'll just show the first frame of the GIF.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. That's a fun question, though. I would probably be distracted if everybody had their camera turned off and it was just a bunch of little looping images of people waving and stuff.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, in some situations, it would be a significant improvement in some meetings.
That's fair. That's fair.
Oh, not any of the ones that we would all conduct.
Man, am I missing anything critical? Is there anything we didn't cover that we should mention?
Well, I think my favorite meme last year was Baby Yoda. Everybody's familiar with Baby Yoda, and it was like February 2020, me, and it was Baby Yoda, and then it was like April 2020, me, and it showed regular old Yoda.
Yeah,
I thought that was a pretty good meme for last year, because that's kind of how I felt after getting spring quarter off the ground last year.
Oh yeah, yep. I think a lot of people felt that way. All right. Well, I think we are out of time, so I appreciate everybody coming. Hopefully this was a fun one and maybe gave you some ideas and some inspiration. Please do keep in touch. I would love to see what anybody does with any of this stuff, whether it's an assignment for students or just a fun thing you throw on your course homepage. Yeah, share it with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
I tried